Hey guys, today I want to talk about phobia. What is a phobia? And specifically, what is glossophobia, which is the official term for the fear of public speaking? So, just really quick, there will be a link below, and you can take this survey questionnaire, and it's just 10 easy questions, and you can find out if you actually have a phobia of public speaking. But let's go over now what a phobia is. So, in general, a phobia is an irrational fear of something. And it could be a simple phobia like fear of spiders or fear of heights. Some people have agoraphobia, which is the fear of being able to escape from something. So they sit on the exit seats on the plane or movie theater, or maybe they don't like to get in car rides, or they don't like to go on elevators, right? Elevators is a real common use of agoraphobia. But when it comes to glossophobia, glossophobia is the fear of public speaking, and it's much different than the other types of phobias. So, for instance, fear of spiders and fear of snakes is much different from the social anxiety of glossophobia, and that's why we have to tackle it very differently. But let's start off from the very beginning again to what an actual phobia is. And I went back and I was saying it's an irrational fear of something. And when we have an irrational fear, which is a phobia, it sets off the fight or flight or freeze response, which is the fear response part of the brain, which is stored in the amygdala. So the amygdala is the part of the brain. It's really small, but it's very, very powerful. And it's what actually causes all those adrenaline rushes and the fight or flight response that we have before going up in public speaking. So when you have the fear of public speaking, which is an irrational fear, it sets off the amygdala because the amygdala is there to keep you safe from a real physical danger or threat. Now, the key word is physical danger or threat. Now, we know public speaking isn't a physical danger or threat, but when you have an irrational fear, a phobia, it actually sets off the amygdala, which is trying to keep us safe from a physical danger or threat. So basically, the way to tackle glossophobia is much different than the simple phobia. Simple phobias, exposure therapy works. So say you were scared of spiders, you had this really terrifying fear of spiders, right? So what they can do is they can start off really slowly and build up your resistance, right? So they can show you a picture of a spider, right? And you might mark that on a one scale of 1 to 10 to say where you are looking at a picture of spider. And if you're sitting at a 5, all they'll keep doing is get you used to looking at a picture of spider until you say, "Oh, now it's down to about a 3." And then what they'll do is maybe they'll bring in a spider in a tank, and you have to look at that spider in a tank, and where are you now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high? And you might be like at a 9, even if though it's in a tank and it can't hurt you because we have a phobia, rational fear. We know it can't hurt us. It's in a tank. The irrational fear sets off the amygdala saying, hey, we are in a physical danger threat right now with that spider, even though we know it's not there and it's in a tank and we're safe from it. So we keep exposing ourselves to that tank with the spider, right? Until it comes down to a 3. And it could take days or a few weeks, right? Depending on your severity. Then somebody might hold a spider in front of you. Now you're not touching it yet, but somebody might take it out of the cage. And then where are you on a 1 to 10? You might be peaking at a 10 or a 9 or 8, and they'll just keep taking it out until you reach that 3. And then eventually that might get you to touch the spider, hold the spider, right? So as you can see, that is how exposure therapy works. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because most public speaking coaches and most presentation seminars are teaching us exposure. And their whole idea is just get up to the mic, right? Get up to the mic and just keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. But that's not the way to get over a social phobia. That's the way to get over a simple phobia. If so, just going back to what a social phobia is, a social phobia basically is much different, and we have to treat it differently. So exposure does not work for social phobia. It's been proven. The research is out there. I mean, you can just Google it forever, and you'll find out that when it comes to this, it's not the way to get over social phobia. Social phobia, we have to do exposure, but exposure to ourselves, exposure to our own feelings, and that's what my course and all of my studies and research is based upon is exposure to yourself. So you're doing exercises from the comfort of your home, so the exposure is not to the actual audience. The exposure is to yourself and your feelings and your relationships. And there's all kinds of exercises we can do to get rid of those body sensations like the pounding heart, the quivering voice, the trembling hands, the anxious loud voice. And that's how we get over social phobia. And the only way to really get over a social phobia is through cognitive behavioral therapy, which is psychologist or somebody like myself who specializes in glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. So it's a much faster way to get over your public speaking. Meeting with a psychologist could take months. Basically sitting weekly. You have to drive out. They might have might actually have online now. We can meet them online, but it's week after week after week after week and up to months. Where my course is really a fast, rapid pace just to hit glossophobia. So I do it in 28 days. And 2 weeks is learning about it, and then 2 weeks is implementing these exercises to help you get over the phobia or irrational fear of public speaking. And then we can reverse the amygdala from setting off as if public speaking is a physical danger or threat. So I hope this kind of helps. I just want to put together a really quick video to kind of give you the differences between simple phobias, agoraphobia, and glossophobia, which is a social phobia, and the reason why we have to treat it much differently. Again, exposure is not the way. Because let me put it this way. If you had to get up in front of an audience today without having any coping strategies or having any kind of cure, you're going to have a really bad experience. If I were to throw you up on the stage in front of 100 people, what's going to happen to you? You're going to have a panic attack. You're going to have an anxiety attack, right? So exposure does not work. Even in small groups, you're still going to have that bad experience. And that bad experiences teaches the amygdala that this is something to fear, because each time you have a really bad experience and you're hitting a 10 or you're hitting an anxiety attack, even if it's in front of your friends or your family or just a few people or your dog, it stays in the fear response part of the brain, that amygdala, which is very, very powerful. So each time you give yourself a very bad experience, it just empowers it to say, hey, this is a real physical danger or threat, and I should protect you by sending off all these adrenaline rushes, which is the fight or flight response. So that's why I created this course. There's just nothing out there like this. All those coaches, all those seminars, they're teaching you exposure, and that is just empowering your fears more. It's making them more empowered. It's actually creating a more fearful response each time you get up. So instead of getting better, you're actually getting worse. So my course actually teaches exposure in a different way. You're exposing yourself to yourself through exercises that you do at home. And then by the time, the first time you reach a mic or you're standing in front of an audience or you're in a boardroom or even doing a interview in front of a panel, you're already cured. You already told the amygdala and you taught the amygdala that public speaking is not something to be feared. And then the amygdala doesn't even go off. It just sits idle and lets you speak freely and confidently. And that is what my channel is all about, helping you get to that mic and helping you get over your glossophobia, your fear of public speaking forever, so that you can be successful for the rest of your life and do all the things you want to do, present at your company, do speaking gigs, say a toast at a wedding, do really well at interview panels, because that's how interviews are conducted now. It's no longer one-on-one. They now have panels, and usually you have to go to 3 or 4 people. So you have 4 different people, and that is public speaking in a way. So, or at least that's the way our mind sees it, because once you have an audience, it's public speaking. So I hope this video helped. Again, there is a link where you can take a 10-question survey and find out, do you have a phobia? And not only that, what category are you in? Category 5, 4, 3, and then there's 2 and 1, which aren't really a phobia, maybe just a slight fear. But once you reach moderate or higher severe, which is category 3 or 4 or 5, you're in the phobia category. You really need to get over this phobia. And again, the only 2 ways of doing that is through somebody like myself, who has a fast track course within 28 days being cured, or meeting with a psychologist. But just remember, psychologists take months. And just to let you know, psychiatrists prescribe medications. That's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. Medications do not work for this phobia. There are beta blockers which can help with the heart pounding, but it doesn't help with the anxious voice, sleepless nights, all that anxiety, the quivering voice, the shaky hands, all that will still remain. It just helps with the heart pounding. So medications don't work. And honestly, medications just kind of turn you into a zombie. And that's the last thing you want to be on stage, is a stoic zombie. My name is Bob and I'm public speaking now. So basically, we don't want to take medications. They don't work for all those other things except for one symptom, and that's just the beating heart. So that is not how to get over the phobia of public speaking. You really need cognitive behavioral therapy sessions. And again, my course is a fast track. So I hope you found this video really helpful. Look forward to seeing you in future episodes.